Hi, it's Joey Reynolds and my Reynolds Rap on Facebook. Are all of these dictators Napoleonic? They're all short and they walk around pounding their chests, taking over countries that don't belong to them. Who owns all these countries? I had a conference at a synagogue between the Palestinians and the Israelites. Jews and Palestinians were together at this conference where I was the host of it, but I was not the moderator of the panel, but I was the host because I had the radio and television shows, and they had me as a guy who introduced everybody. So I came out, and it was a heavily guarded synagogue in New York City on the Upper East Side, and everybody was all tense and bothered by the Palestinian conflict and the Jewish conflict. You could say that at any time, at any day, and you'd be accurate about a conflict because that still goes on. And the fight goes on, and the beat goes on. So at the conference, I had 4 Jews and 4 Palestinians, and I said, I just want to ask one question before we get started with introducing your moderator tonight. I would like to share with you a couple of things, but rather than that, let me ask you all, each of you, a question, the same question, and then you can in an orderly fashion answer me. Are we still talking about this? Are we all talking about the same God? Is this Yahweh and the God of David, the God of Jesus? Is this the God of Muhammad? Is this? Are we talking about the same God? Do we all have the same God? And each one of them simply said yes, all the way across the board, all 8 people. Yes, 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 yes. I said, well, if we all have the same God, then we must know that God owns everything and does not have any excuses to make to anybody. He doesn't report to anybody. We all report to God. He's the landlord. So why do we not get along knowing that he owns everything and he's the landlord? So one of the Palestinians says, well, some people are late with the rent. And actually it was a good answer, and it broke up the crowd. But the fact of the matter is we've got conflicts, and people are always going to have that. But why are they always short? Like Putin is a short guy, and the guy from Korea. And why would the guy from Korea send off a missile during peace talks? I mean, what kind of a brain do you have when the world is so tense, and we're really not getting along at all on occasion, and there's no Hallmark card for that one. But we're sitting here and we have an idiot, and he is, to sit at the top of the world here with all the money and all the fame and all the power, and yet he wants to invade a country to make more, to have more. I mean, see, we can't process that. I can't process it. I don't know if you get that through your head. But on the radio and the television, they don't mind this because it's a discussion, and they got nothing to do anyway, because they're sitting around looking for something to happen so they could have a story that gets them to the next series of commercials. And incidentally, too many of them, too many stations that are doing the same thing. Talk stations, radio. I don't know why we have talk stations that answer phones when everybody texts, just about. I don't know why we have television stations that are separated and then wonder why we can't get together. I don't know how we have a society that says it's following Dr. Luther King and Dr. Martin Luther King, who was, I marched in the 60s like many of us for different reasons. War, I didn't like war. I didn't want to get drafted. I didn't approve of going to Vietnam. I don't know why we went there. I don't know why we got our nose in a lot of places, but I guess it's economics. I would suppose that's the general answer. But back to the issue, Martin Luther King, he was not about having more black people do well or more white people do well. He was about everybody getting together and doing well. And the 3 biggest tapes that are on television since I've been around that run over and over and over again are, first of all, the Rodney King, why can't we just get along? The other big one would be the George Foreman thing, the Black Lives Matter, that tape's run ad infinitum. And now the other one that's running is the slap on the face with which brought Chris Rock's career back now that he has new teeth. I'm glad. I threw that in. He's a comic. So we have a repeat of the same stuff. It's called filler. And then we have a half hour of really bad, terrible news, like the subway killings, or not the killings, but the subway shootings, and many, many tragedies, including the weather, which we never used to have this much weather. I don't know where all of a sudden we've become a weather-minded country. Matter of fact, that's the biggest item on every newscast locally is the weather. They make more money off the weather forecast than they do off of anything else on the news. It's the biggest budget that goes to the weather department of a television station. People just love to sit there and watch the weather. All you got to do is have AccuWindow weather. Go outside, open the window, and there you are. But, that doesn't tell you the forecast. And you got to know when something's coming. Not that you'll move if you know there's a fire in your neighborhood, in the forest. Not that you move if you hear there's a tornado coming. Not that you'll move if there's a hurricane warning. What we usually do is run to Home Depot. That's the first place we go. The first place I would go, in the old days, I would go under the desk in school. We had the nuns and the scare of the atom bomb. The other place I would go is in the closet, but then too, there were so many other people in there. And the thing is that we got to go ahead with what we know to be the best thing for all of us. And you can't leave a city, as you've noticed in the Ukraine, and you notice here whenever we have a tragedy, that you can't leave a city without a traffic jam. And who wants to get in their car and run away from a city when you're going to be in traffic for about 3-4 hours and you don't know if you're going to get the hell out of there? You got to find another way to get out of here. So I don't know the answer. I only know the questions. I have less answers and more questions. But I do know we are relying on electronics, and it's affecting us in every way, whether it's the internet, where we would rather, according to the Huffington Post, a mother was confronted by her child and about how do two men have sex. And she asked her 10-year-old says, how did two men have sex? And so she started to tell him, and the kid says, well, I'd rather watch a video game. Which is more realistic for that age anyway. But besides the point, what is the point? The point is that there's a shoe called the Smart Shoe. Now, Don Adams, when he was Get Smart on television, used to have a shoe with a phone in it, and he would add, it was funny. First he had a watch. You know what? We got one now. We have the Smart Watch. We have the Smart Shoe. This is new. This is the Smart Shoe. It's got a chip in it. I used to have mine on my shoulder, and I bet you can't eat just one. So I got this Smart Shoe, and it's got everything in it that you need, for communication. If something's happening, the shoe vibrates. It gets your attention. Yeah, feet don't fail me now. It's not a bad thing for the black community. So we got it now. We got it. We're down to massaging our feet when something's going wrong. What next? I hope they don't mess around with the anal portion of my body. That's where I do all my thinking. So it's a Reynolds wrap.